Hi guys, it's Jamie here, and today I'm going to show you how I got to these envelopes from this tray of scraps. We're going to go back to when these were junk mail envelopes rather than pockets and see how all of this came together. Today we're going to do some Masterboard pockets. I've got 4 junk mail envelopes here. What I'm going to do is initially attach them together so we can treat this like we would a masterboard. This is a straightforward masking, cheap masking tape. It is fabric and it's non-glossy, so that means the gluing over it is nice and easy. Never done this before, so this is very much see what happens. As usual, massive box of scraps, all in roughly one beigey brown colourway, and then working my way through the scraps, sticking them down, just using a glue stick. You can use any glue you want, of course, covering it completely, trying to get a variety. This actually is to do with New Year's Eve, so it has a lot of cocktail glasses on it, so I am going to cut this one up and put it on sideways. That was in the scrap box, even though it's not a scrap. Still might use it though. I will continue and come back when this is covered. Because these are going to go into my mum's boho journal, I am tending to do a lot of the processes in a very similar way from video to video. That will change as soon as the journal theme changes. Because I've got different colours through here, I am going to brush over some white gesso, which if you've watched any of my videos before, you've seen me do. It's to take some of the colour off or tone it down and to bring in a bit more uniformity across the what will be 4 pockets. You can see that I'm going in slightly harder with the colour on the darker pieces. It's almost a dry brushing technique. I've chosen 5 watercolour crayons for this stage. I'm going to start with the darkest and then go to the lightest. And what I want to do is, where you have these joins of new materials, is to create some definition around that before actually pouring any paints. Initially I'm going to do this with the dark. You can see it's highlighting the different places. When you pour paints, it will catch some of these edges, but this gives you slightly more control. So now, taking the lightest one, just going to do a little bit of scribbling and smudging, and then actually take all the colours that are here and do this over the whole lot, and then I will come back. I've decided to continue with some more colours, so I'm going to take another orange. I think that one's the red. One's more pink than red, so I'm going to work in these 3 colours next. Next I'm going to just add a bit of water and see what happens if we just smudge over the whole lot now. If I don't like that effect, I'll let it dry and go back in and do stronger colours, but it's okay so far. Our next stage is going to involve a new napkin design. This one. I'm going to take the different ply off. I'm not sure if this is 2 or, well, it's 3. I can see it's 3. Both of these layers off, so that's one. Can be used for something else to create texture. Next layer coming up. Put a Mod Podge on here, or a collage glue, or you can use a white glue, a PVA glue. I'm going to take some of this, put it on here, and seal the top as well. And then taking a paintbrush and some water, I'm going to damp down so I can hopefully just tear this away. What I'm hoping for is a more natural softer tear line. Now we know where to definitely seal. This will dry clear. Again, more Mod Podge on here. As you can see, I don't now really know where one envelope joins another, and yet at some point these are going to be separated, which isn't going to give a nice random effect. Don't really want an overlap, so if I can pull it away so it doesn't overlap too much, that will be good. I will seal that down in a minute because I did just spray water direct onto that. I'm not worried about wrinkling because more art treatments are going to go over the top of this. I will come back when I have filled this in and sealed it over and it's dry. In the Dephemerember challenge on day 22, it's mushroom and circle as the prompts. Circles. And now we're going to make a paste. What's it called? Texture paste. To make the texture paste, this is plaster of Paris, and you do equal parts plaster of Paris and glue. Probably the cheapest way to make texture paste. So you can use a cheap glue, but I don't think I've got one. I should measure this, but I am going to try to guess it. You can actually colour this as well. I'm going to risk doing it white because then I'm going to use some pouring acrylics and see where we go from there. As soon as texture paste goes onto a stencil and you're happy and you've lifted it and it's lifted up okay, then you must wash the stencil or the stencil will just be ruined, and you need to wash it in hot soapy water. Let's try it on one envelope. I'm hoping I'm not going to move this too much. Let's see. Awesome. Just quickly go and wash everything up. Okay, next stage, let's see what happens when we do the pouring acrylic. Is this. So I'm going to run it along here. This is a metallic wine red. Give it a bit of water. Get that going a bit. And it's not really pouring. Right, I've dried this off. It's better than I thought when it was wet, but it hasn't worked quite as I wanted. So I've switched materials to some Distress Oxide sprays. Got the Spice Marmalade and the Fossilized Amber, and we're going to give those a go instead. Everything I do is an experiment, and we just keep going until we get a result. It's as simple as that. This is slightly damp but not wet. Let's see what it's like if it goes on straight away, and if we don't like it then we can add some water. You see, my main concern is how white those circles are. I'm aiming to dye the circles more than worry too much about distress inking everything. I also get some tissue so we can mop up excess. It's covered over the red quite a bit. Well, it's covered over everything quite a bit actually. Again, it's mainly the circles I'm concerned about more than the actual, so we're going to keep lifting. I want to get some gold leafing, I think, on this. Just try it on this little corner here. See what it turns out like. And if I'm liking how this looks, then we'll continue it. Kind of disappearing. Wow. Don't know why that is. Maybe that's the effect of the plaster of Paris. Just to catch you up with where we are, I decided that the Mod Podge wasn't working because it was spreading the colour too much into these circles. So I used a spray adhesive, sprayed the whole envelope masterboard, then probably ended up using about 4 or 5 of these sheets because the spray adhesive in some ways was too strong, so it was grabbing it all rather than getting the flake that I normally get. But I managed to cover them all. To protect it, again, I didn't want to use the Mod Podge because I didn't want to smear colours everywhere. Therefore, I used hairspray. Sprayed it all very liberally with hairspray and allowed it to dry. Then separated them, and we now have our pockets. Of the prompts, circle and mushrooms, we've got the circles. I've looked at this, and I think if I add these mushrooms, it's just good. These are mushrooms that grow in India. It's just going to look freaking weird. I thought I needed to decorate this a bit more because they're nice, but there's no focal point here. I've started to cut out from some papers that I've got that are again quite glittery, some little emblems. Mostly the emblems on these papers are quite large, so there isn't a lot of choice in the smaller ones that would fit between this plaster texture paste. You cannot realistically glue on that. What I will do is I will decorate one with these. Not quite sure how many I'm going to put on here. Possibly 3 elephants, possibly, and 2 leaves. These I will glue down now and debate if there's anything else that needs doing. I ended up using the same design more or less across all 4. I'm going to trim this bit off, put the little notch in that I like to do on the envelopes, and then just do a couple of finishing touches to the pockets. I've been debating what to do about the mushrooms. I think I might do it as a journaling card. I was debating whether to do it straight into the book and do a mushroom page, but I just don't see how that fits. As you can see, I'm struggling with the mushroom aspect. For this one, I'm going to use the 1 1/2 circle punch, hoping this isn't too thick. It's lifted that already. It's quite difficult to get anything to stick on this. I'm going to have to stick that one down again. I'm hoping I can get in there and do this without lifting every single aspect of the pattern. It's going to be a bit of a struggle. Probably should have done this before I put the design on. I don't know if that is halfway or not, but it's going to do. A couple of things to do. Stick back anything that's now lifted, and also put something down here. Could be the mushrooms actually. There's an idea. That's how we could get the mushrooms on. The way I'm going to fulfill the mushroom part of the brief is a little bit of a cheat. I'm going to simply line the envelope with the mushroom paper. It's probably not even going to see that it's a mushroom. So I'm just putting some Mod Podge down on the inside, getting the paper and placing it in down to wherever I've taken the glue to, just about there, sealing it on there. And then when that's dry, trimming off the excess. We're on to the finishing touch time, which is to use the Stabilo 8046 to outline round our major focal points. Smudge that up a little bit using some water and a Q-tip to make them stand out on these envelopes. This is now lined with mushroom paper, just a little bit, not all the way down. And I've yet to make the tags for these pockets. Stabilo, if you've not seen a video of mine before, what you do is you go round edges of things, either a focal point or even the edge of your whole pocket, for example, or your belly band, which I might do. And then using some water, you can make that stand out more. Bit of water, a Q-tip or a finger, it's up to you. Once it's wet, take off a little bit of the excess and then come in and smudge it out a bit. It really is just a question of working round these little focal points so that you can make them stand out. You can take this away if you want so it becomes grayer as it stands out. Make it a bigger area. If you feel like you've made a mistake, more water and it will lift. I will do that round all of these features on all 4 envelopes. Ended up outlining everything, as you can see. I took this one much darker. I really love that because I think it makes that rose gold and those circles really pop. But I want each one to look slightly different. They will be scattered throughout the journal, so they're very similar, very similar, but there's differences in the shading. This is another 4 pieces of ephemera for Mum's journal done. I've done the prompt for, I can't even remember what day it was now, for day 22 of Dephemerember, even though we're now in January, which was mushroom and circle, mushroom being the paper that's backing these. Yet to make the tags for them. However, we got there eventually. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already, please consider subscribing. I do 3 to 5 videos per week on all things journaling, junk journaling, planning, art journaling, and I will see you next time.